So, hello everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon which part of the planet you are watching us. And as all of us know, that this is a weekly broadcast which we broadcast on our Facebook page, Reboot Your Life. So, on behalf of Reboot Your Life community, I welcome you all. I'm your host Yogesh Srivastav, and we have the pleasure and honor of having with us Mr. Succiano Robert, who is also known as Success Robert. He is from Nigeria. Welcome, Robert.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad to be here. It's really a privilege. Yes, it's an honor indeed.
Yeah, so let me share with you uh, some details about Robert. Let me introduce all of you, Mr. Roberts. Mr. Robert is a very young and dynamic. As you'll be, when you will be interacting, you will come to know. He's very young. He's very dynamic, and at this young age, he has achieved so much. He has been a social media and brand strategist, and he is a life coach, business coach, and he specializes in stress management as well as depression management. And I happened to watch a couple of his FB live programs, and I was so impressed at such a young age. He has so much of clarity and depth of knowledge. It's amazing, and I believe, if I am right, Robert, we share also that Ultimate Breakthrough group with the Tony Robbins.
Come again?
I think Ultimate Breakthrough Challenge group of Tony Robbins. You are part of that.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah, I
Yeah,
was there. Okay.
yeah. So that's how I came to know about you, and then you were
That is,
kind enough to join this community. So.
yeah.
Uh, So as all of us know that this is a community from 30 countries, and we have experts from various fields, various coaches, authors, poets, writers, and many of them are upcoming, and some of them are also very well established in the international arena. So it's a pleasure, interacting with such people, and having such a wonderful tribe and community. Basically, being a non-commercial community, we are actually adding value to each other, trying to co-learn, co-create, and bring a better version of ourselves. So without taking much of time, Robert, once again, I take this opportunity of welcoming you from my behalf as well as on behalf of the Reboot My Life community. So welcome to the show.
It's my humble pleasure, sir. I'm really glad to be here, and definitely it's a big honor for me. Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Yeah, so I'll request you to start your discussion uh, from the, sharing your journey so far. So, yeah, tell us something about yourself.
All right. Like Mr. Yogesh said earlier, I'm Success Robert, but I'm popularly known as Succiano Robert. So, in case you have seen Success, you have seen Succiano, just anyone is fine, but I'm Success Robert, popularly known as Succiano Robert. And, basically, I'm from Lagos, Nigeria. Yeah, so I'm representing Lagos, Nigeria over here. And it's a privilege to be with you guys, sharing my story, sharing my journey along the way. At the age of 16, basically, from a very young age, I've always noticed that, I love to teach, I love to impact people, I love to mentor, specifically when it comes to public speaking, public teaching. And so I had this flair for it. And I felt, okay, since I had this flair, let me just, do something with this at a very young age and, impact the lives of people. I wanted to teach others. And that was how I delved into the teaching sector. And, it was a passion for me. And I was doing it, with my whole heart, my whole soul. And, but along the way, I discovered that this same passion was becoming a nightmare for me in the sense that, people I was working with, especially the teaching sector over here in Nigeria, it's somehow. So people I was working with, they're not appreciative of my efforts. I've spent 3 years in this sector, that was till when I was about 18 or 19, yeah. So I spent about 3 years in the sector, three or thereabout, and I wasn't really fulfilled. I didn't get this joy, this fulfillment in me, when you do something with so much passion and you feel like, this is becoming a painstaking routine and, there was no joy in what you were doing. And I thought I could do more, I could impact more lives. And instead of just, teaching them the specific, set of rules, set of laws according to their scheme of work. Education has gone beyond what we think it is. So I felt okay, yeah, I could impact positively in people's lives. I could, in one way or the other, I could just do something. And at that moment, that was when my family at that point, we were going through a difficult time. My dad had fallen terribly ill. He had lost a job at very good job at one point or time, in the other, and I had to step up because I was the firstborn of the family. I was the firstborn of the family, and over here, if you're the firstborn, you've got some form of responsibility. I had three other younger siblings, which had to look up to me as a as the firstborn of the family. And because of that, I felt okay. I needed to, get my ass to work something out. I didn't need to wait for others. I was there. I was rejected by my friends. I didn't even have much friends because who would associate with you when you don't have something to offer, right? Nobody. But I needed to, offer something. I needed to become much more valuable. I needed to command that respect. And because of that, I just retired. I retired, and it was a painful one for me because there was nothing I was doing at that moment. There was no income coming in, and I was still struggling to, provide for myself, let alone my family. My parents were there. My mom was still struggling to find her own ends meet and, provide for the whole family. And my dad was terribly ill, almost to the point of death. And it was so much a very sad situation for me. I was almost depressed. In fact, I was depressed at some point in time. And at some point, I'll just end up crying, and I'll feel some type of way. And when I feel this form of injustice happening, I'm totally pissed off. And I was like, no, things can't continue like this. I need to make something for myself. And that was how I started up my brand. I also got introduced to an amazing, health and wellness company in US. So, and that was how I started. I started off my brand. I delved into the health sector as a whole. And I went into research. Trying to know things that were happening, especially when it comes to stress, when it comes to anxiety, when it comes to depression. I spent about close to 3 years into this research, and this is who I am today. I've done, like what he said. He said I've accomplished a lot. Well, don't mind me, I'm just coming from a meeting right now, so I'm all hyper energetic, in a very high state of energy. And I feel it's good to be in this state. It's good to be in this form of energy, if you have to carry out any form of activity. And that's just the best. That's just the best form. So I'm all hyperactive right now. All right. So as I was saying, so I got started off, and I discovered that it wasn't just me. Several other people were facing stressful situations. They were anxious. They were suffering from depression. I don't know if you felt a situation whereby you feel nothing is working for you. I don't know if you've been in that shoes before, and I feel some of our viewers have also found themselves in such kind of situation whereby they will feel nothing is working out. Every single thing they are doing is going totally wrong, and the economy is not helping matters. The economy is not there to help them. Their family is not there to help them. They don't have any relative that would bring out the magical ruler from somewhere, and that was the situation I felt most people have found themselves in, which at one point or the other in my life, I found myself into in that kind of situation. And so I was more than ever determined to make something work for myself. And that is why I'm here today.
Oh, such an amazing and inspiring story. Somebody who starts his life, his career at the age of 16, and then retires by age of 18 or 19, and then he starts his own journey, his own venture, his own business, and trying to impact life of others because of the situation, the experiences one had. It's so amazing. I mean, Robert, I think you are inspiring a lot of people, and you will continue to inspire a lot of people with your stories, with your experiences, and with your interventions as well. So
Yeah.
it's actually, yeah, it's so wonderful, knowing you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. And just to clear something up, when we're talking about accomplishments, we're talking about wealth creation. It doesn't really have to do with the physical cash. It doesn't necessarily have to do with the physical cash. Wealth for me, I feel, is the extent at which you can be able to provide value, the extent at which you can be able to impact positively in people's lives. That is wealth creation for me. And I believe if you can be able to provide much more value to people, definitely value will always come back to the source of its value. So if you're not providing that value in one way or the other, you're going to, be at the receiving end. But definitely the intentions has to be strictly to impact positively to people's lives. And that's one of the few positive nuggets I got along the way, after trying out several things or the other.
Yeah, thank you, Roberts. And one thing, which I always wonder about is, in today's technological, fast-changing life, where everything is so fast and changing so fast, the next morning you find that the previous night was far behind. So much of
Yeah.
technological advancement is happening. So people are under tremendous stress to catch up with the technology, to catch up with fast pace, and there is kind of rat race in life, and this is actually leading to a lot of stress and depression cases as well. Eventually into people are going into depression and all. So what are your thoughts, because you have done a lot of work on this and you are still doing a lot of work on this, you have done research, at this young age you have done the research on this subject and you are helping others reach out. So what are your thoughts, and how can one handle these stress life situations?
Okay. Thank you for that. Definitely, just like you said, a lot of people are going into, serious stressful situations. A lot of people are anxious. A lot of people are gradually entering into depression. Now, the big problem is some people do not know it. They do not know. They are totally oblivious of this fact, and they feel it's a normal phase that will just come and go. While some, they definitely know, okay, yeah, they are going through this specific situation, but yet they don't have a solution towards it. Now, imagine someone that just lost his dad, probably lost his mom, or probably lost a relative, and is still struggling, to have these thoughts away from him. Definitely he would be passing through this traumatic situation at one point or the other. Or probably someone that had invested so much into his career, and at the end of the day, after spending like close to 8 years in a specific career, 8 years devoted to a specific company, and then all of a sudden there's a shift in the system, and then the company goes crashing down, they experience bankruptcy, workers are laid off. These are everyday situations that causes stress for people. Everyday situations that are normal that causes stress for people. Why for some it's kind of like, for some it's their relationships. Relationships, they keep relationships with their family, with their father, with their mother, relationships with their relative, with their brother, with their sister, relationships, emotional relationships with their spouse, with their fiancé, with their boyfriend or girlfriend. Now, for some, it is this form of relationships that causes much more stress for them, and they go into anxiety, and probably they've been courting someone for quite a while, and at the end of the day they just found out that, oh, this person you're about to marry is actually married and has kids. Now imagine the kind of problem, the kind of situation, the kind of trauma that person would find his or herself. And these are situations that causes much more stress for us. But now this, some people would say, okay, I'm living a very good life. I don't have problem. I don't have problem with my family. I don't have problem with my dad. I don't have problem with anybody. My work is great. It's not the high pressuring job. And everything is going smoothly for me. I'm not under any stress or the other. But I would 100% tell you that every single person is under stress in one way or the other, because there are also physical changes that also affect each and every one of us, that helps us to know that, okay, yes, there are some things we can't easily control. For example, now, the way our brain is used, we can't easily control it. Now, when we sleep, and the process at which we are able to wake up is still stress. Yes, it's our stress hormones that help us wake up. So now imagine you using an alarm clock. Most of us use alarm, especially when you want to get up for the day's activities, a very hyperactive state, and you want to get up very, very early. Especially some of us here, the kind of area we live, some people work at a very far distant places, and they have to now set their alarm on time, so they'll be able to get up in time, up for work, and they'll be able to beat traffic. And if you know Lagos very well, Lagos is one of the highest, traffic, contained area. Lagos has its own high peak when it comes to traffic, and road users, it's quite much. So most people use alarms, to get up. But then stress hormones get you up, still you're adding alarms. Now, this is what happens. When you have now entered into a deep realm of sleep, and then your alarm rings, once it rings, you are woken. The process at which you are woken is in a very forceful state. Now, the stress has become at its peak. Now your stress hormone is waking you up, and then your alarm added to it. So now you are now being awoken at a very high peak. Now that is a stress occurrence which most people do not know of. Yeah. Now at various time of the day, our brain uses zekibas, to actually regulate, to set its own body cue regulation, to set its own rhythmic regulation. But then at certain points of time in the day, definitely we experience stress hormones. Our stress hormones are active. There's something called seasonal affective disorder, SAD. Now, process at which sometimes most people experience stress at certain points or at certain seasons or at certain time of the day. Now, these are physical changes that we can't easily overlook. Now, what about when you are hungry? Now, definitely, you've been hungry before, right? Right? Yeah, I'm sure you must have been hungry before. I definitely must have been hungry before. One person or the other must have been hungry before. And then when we are hungry, our stress levels are raised. Yeah, our stress levels are raised. Why? Because our body can only produce norepinephrine and cortisol. Now, our major stress hormones, though we have other stress hormones, but our major stress hormones are the norepinephrine, the cortisol, and the dopamine levels. But now, when we are hungry, our brain can only produce norepinephrine and cortisol. And at that point in time, our blood sugar level is decreased. Our blood sugar level is decreased. Our cortisol levels are increased. Our cortisol levels are increased. Our blood sugar levels are decreased. So when we are hungry, our body produces just cortisol. Once only cortisol isn't just enough to keep your body in the right shape. Definitely, you need cortisol, norepinephrine, and dopamine at an appropriate quantity. For you, your body just producing only cortisol when you are hungry shows that there's something wrong, and the brain interprets that as stress. So your blood sugar level is decreasing, your cortisol levels are increasing, and at that point, ghrelin, which is the hunger hormone, is also produced alongside myostatin, and at that point, the brain also interprets all these situations, all these processes as stress on its own. Now, what about how we are using our phones right now? Definitely, probably you're using a phone, or you're using a system, your laptop, or whatever technological device you are using. Now, the process at which we are using such device, let's say at certain points of time in the day, let's say at night, and then we have our lights, our phone lights, radiating. We also have probably a light bulb. Now that same process, the brain also interprets that as stress automatically. Now, some people say, okay, you put up the lights, you just use your phone ray. While some would say that your phone ray would actually, affect your eyes. These are several situations which can be very, very confusing, but the brain still interprets it as stress. Now, what about when you're in a colder environment? You're in a cold environment, the body just produces only, norepinephrine and cortisol, no dopamine, and that is the same as low stress levels. Why? Because there's no dopamine. Dopamine is the only hormone that would keep you in an energized state, in a peak mood. That peak mood where you have to, spike up, act, become productive, become proactive. And at that point, there is no dopamine. Now you're in a low stress mode. Now that is why most people would say when you are probably low, or when you are kind of like feeling down, you need to increase your dopamine levels, right? So sometimes what we recommend is just some form of affirmation or incantation, or sometimes what we recommend is probably you take a chocolate. A chocolate has helps you have this serotonin levels. Chocolate produces serotonin in your body. It's also another stress hormone on its own. Serotonin is called the feel-good hormone. It's also another stress. I don't want to go deep dive into that though. But my point basically is the fact that physically we all experience stress. Now, what are the effects? Some people would say, okay, probably might not really have so much effect. Stress has a damaging effect on our body. Yes, that's a damaging effect on our body. It makes us act impulsively, without discipline. And there's also something stress does. Now, recent research, this is also talked about in one of our health, meetings we organize, and stress actually and some other factors contribute to the declining rates of a particular molecule in our body known as glutathione. Now, glutathione, I don't know whether if anyone has heard of glutathione before. Now, glutathione is the master antioxidant in each and every single cell in our body. Each and every single cell in our body, glutathione is a master antioxidant. Now, glutathione helps other antioxidants to function on its own. Now, glutathione also regulates everything that happens within your cells and keeps your cells active, productive, proactive, and in a very good shape. So, but once your glutathione levels are reduced, your cells starts to die off, and your cells will not be replenishing as it's ought to replenish. And that our body is made up of trillions of cells, and it's these cells that is the smallest unit of life that keeps us active and productive. So now, once we have high levels of stress in our body, this makes our glutathione level to decline naturally. Now, the level keeps declining. And what happens when the glutathione level declines? What happens is the fact that we are now susceptible to over 74 medical health challenges, such as diabetes, stroke, hepatitis, arthritis, and several other health conditions. And that is because our glutathione levels has declined, and that's because we are suffering from increased stress. Now, still, this stress leads to anxiety. It also leads to depression. Now, some people do not know that this stress is a very it's more or less like it's a cankerworm. It's something that people overlook, but it's dangerous. Yeah, it's dangerous. And what I found out over my research is the fact that what causes stress sometimes might not be the environment we find ourselves, it might not be the situations that are happening, but sometimes it's the meaning and expectations that we give to things. The meanings and expectations that we give to things. That's what causes stress. Now, let's take for instance, you've been courting someone, you've been a fiancé, or you've had a boyfriend or a girlfriend for a very long time, and you definitely feel okay, yes, definitely this relationship should lead to marriage, right? And now, at some point when you feel it should be leading to marriage, you're expecting a proposal, right? And then the moment you're expecting a proposal, you're all hyperactive, you are pumped up, okay, he should be proposing to me today, and then something happens. And then let's say we now cause up the relationship at that point. Now, him calling up the relationship might not be what will get you stressed up. What will get you stressed up is the fact that you've been expecting the proposal, and the proposal did not come. Now, let's take for instance, you were not expecting the proposal, and he didn't propose. Would you be worried? Of course not. You won't be worried. But so that just goes to show that it is the meaning and expectations that we give to things. Now, I gave this illustration on my life the other day. I was kind of sick, and I went to get some prescription from the pharmaceutical store, and then the place I was supposed to pass is that same place I've been passing through that same route every single day. But because I wasn't expecting, or because I wasn't focused at my steps, I thought that I was actually falling. But in real sense, I wasn't falling. So I was kind of like, my stress hormones had spiked up, and I found myself in the fight or flight response mode, and that was because in my mind I was feeling okay, yes, I'm falling. That was the meaning I gave to it. But I wasn't falling. So it's just the meaning and expectations that we give to things that causes much more stress for us, not even the situations that happens. So now we need to be very, very careful when things like this happen. And when it comes to depression, depression is one area that has battled plenty people for a very long time. I remember finding myself in that kind of shoes, some time back, and it was really terrible. Though when some people are depressed, they use several things to keep their mind off their thoughts. While some people use alcohol, alcohol is always the next go-to option. While some would binge on social media, watching movies, television, funny videos, and the rest. While some would go to food, some people just eat. Why? Because they're in a depressed state. It's a state at which their dopamine levels there's little or no dopamine levels, and they are not functional, they are not proactive, they are not in their peak states, So now, what I found out, that's just what I found out, and I feel if we can be able to get ourselves back to a peak state, back to a state at which we are in control of ourselves, we're in control of our emotions, we're in control of how we act, how we speak, definitely things will be all good. And from what I've learned so far, I was actually thinking that it's our states, it's our action, it's our states that would, it's our states that would actually determine how we feel. But now what I've learned so far is that motion actually drives emotion. So I don't know if you've heard that from Tony Robbins. He says motion drives emotion. So the way we act, the way we do things, yes, actually determines how we feel. So right now, I went to work out some few minutes ago, and I'm in a very peak state. I'm energetic. And how would you think I would just come to this life and I'll be like, "Hello guys, yeah, I'm Success Roberts. Nice to meet you." No, there is no energy, there is no state. Now, if I'm in this peak state, you cannot easily tell if I've gone through some difficult situations in life, or if something just happened to me, or if the contract I was supposed to land just failed, or if a customer, a client just cancelled the deal. You wouldn't even know because I'm in a peak state. But if I'm in this state, and I'm like, stress is a very disturbing situation, you can easily tell that, okay, yes, probably something is wrong somewhere, right? So we need to change our state in order to change our life. We need to change our state to change our story in order to change our life. And depression is something that affects almost everybody. Now, depression leads to the highest, it leads to the highest rate of suicide, according to statistics. Depression leads to the highest rate of suicide. Most people that go and commit suicide is because they are totally depressed. Now, you have several countries, even those people, let's not make any mistake, people who are wealthy are still depressed. People who have financial sustainability are still depressed. So let's not say it's because of there's lack of financial sustenance, that is why they are depressed. No, that's not it. Now look at states like United States. United States has one of the highest records of depression. Still, we know United States to have a very good economy. China too also has one of the highest records of depression. Yet we know China to have a very good economy. Now, what's leading to depression? Several other factors, several other changes, several other occurrences, not just because of their financial state. Let's not make that mistake. So we need to have this in mind and know that everybody is susceptible to depression. Everybody, every single person is susceptible to depression. I was speaking with a friend the other day. She didn't know me very well. We just got connected, and she kind of like asked me. She said, "Have you ever felt depressed before?" I looked at her and I smiled. Now, why is she asking? Because she feels most people do not really talk about it, right? They just keep it to themselves. Now they feel if you say I felt depressed before, then something is wrong with this person, or this person does not have a very good ego. Some people there are several fallacies, several myths, as regards depression. Some people cannot come out, to tell you that they are depressed. They are ashamed, they are shy to speak out and tell others that this is what they are facing. And that is because of the kind of environment, the kind of environment we find ourselves, and because of what social media has done. They cannot come out. And so when she asked me, I felt she couldn't say it, and she wanted to know if I would say yes, then probably she would be able to come out and try to yes, I felt some type of way before, then we could easily relate. But the truth is, almost everyone has faced some form of depression or the other. I have, yes, I've been in that state. I've been deep into that state. You see this young guy, so energetic, and everyone that sees me outside, will always feel energetic, right? They always feel I've got the vibe, I've got the ginger, they always feel that. But they don't know that, yes, back, if you know me real well, if you know me back deeper into who I am, there are situations that would happen and I would lose the vibe. I would lose that morale. I would lose that energy. I would lose that peak state. Now, there are situations that causes this. Situations that causes this. Some that are not within our control. When the pandemic struck, we almost everyone went to this state of depression. Why? Because if you're the outgoing type, you were locked indoors. And that's a change in our system. A change in our system, our brain automatically interprets every single change as stress. Stress leads into anxiety, anxiety into depression. Now, during the pandemic, we all locked, we experienced this change. This kind of thing has never happened before to us. The economy shifted. There's a radical shift in the economy, and things started going from bad to worse. People went into this form of depression. Yes, businesses collapsed, businesses crushed. So almost everybody have found themselves in this form of shoes. Imagine for those, because one of the major causes leading to stress, anxiety, and depression, most times is either physical factors because of work pressure, trying to meet up with demands from employers. You're working, you're on the 9 to 5 job, trying to meet up with their demands. Now, these are things that causes more stress. You wake up early, you are taking the next hike, you're taking the next bus, you're jumping on the next train, off to your workplace. This causes stress. Or probably emotional situations. You are finding it hard trying to adapt. Or you are finding it hard trying to be compatible with your spouse. Now you both have gone into this form of dormant stage at which you don't understand yourself. Or probably you were laid off from work and your spouse or your wife isn't getting the financial support she usually gets. Or the pandemic hits. Your wife that loves to go to the supermarket, to the mall, to go shop. Your wife that loves to go shopping every single Saturday doesn't go shopping again. Your wife that loves to get the latest designer handbags doesn't buy the latest designer handbag, and she's frustrated. There is no money. Now you've eaten up all your savings, or you just invested in a mega deal that just collapsed. All this leads to a state at which sometimes we can't explain. A state at which sometimes we feel life has turned for worse or life has changed for worse. A state at which all we need to do is just go out there, take a rope, and just kill ourselves. And that is
Yeah,
why,
yeah, please.
that is why, yeah, that is why I feel we need to take this seriously. And the stress, anxiety, and depression is something I'm just so passionate about. And if given the opportunity, I could just talk from now till tomorrow and stuff like that about this. But this is something, it's a growing cankerworm in our society. This is something we need to be aware of. This is something we need to talk about. And I'm really glad I'm having this opportunity to have this conversation with you.
Thanks, Robert. In fact, you've taken a lot of pains to go into details. You have explained it very well in great details, why it happens and how it happens and all those things. I was just thinking, uh, what we are always bothered about is the curative part of it. Once somebody shows the symptoms of stress or anxiety or depression, then we start thinking about, okay, what could be the way forward, how to treat that particular person. Can we just think about what lifestyle changes or what changes in our approach towards the life, and or also if there is somebody who is showing some signs of depression or anxiety, what support mechanism within the family or outside the family with the friends can be thought of, so that the situation further doesn't aggravate, so that it can
All
be
right,
managed
thank you.
in the it can be nipped in the bud itself.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, just like you said, definitely the person needs support from the society, support from the family, support from friends. Definitely you might not get all the support you need, but there's something you need to look out for, definitely the symptoms. If there are causes, definitely there should be symptoms, right? So if you're under stress, you find yourself having similar symptoms to ADHD. Now, inability for you to focus on a specific activity for a very long while. You can't, inability for you to concentrate. You've lost your focus. You've lost your concentration ability. Now your mind is easily shifted. Your mind is easily distracted. And another thing is the fact that social media has even made it very, very worse, in the sense that every single thing we see on social media is intended to attract us. Now, this is not just about the traffic gaining possibility, because initially when the internet started, it's just to drive traffic. But right now, this is now based on attention based. Now, what form of content can be able to keep you fixed at a specific situation for a very long while? So most people with stress, suffering from stress, anxiety, and depression, several things gets them distracted, at one point or the other. They can't focus, they lose their focus, they lose their ability to think and act. Now they just do things on impulse, and they find themselves always feeling very, very lonely. Always feeling very, very lonely. Now, this feeling of loneliness most times is associated with early stages of depression. Early stages of depression. So when you feel okay, there's no one there for you, and no one is there to support you, and you just feel the world has abandoned you, you are reading a different meaning and different expectation as to things. Definitely you are going towards this specific pattern. So it just means anybody can display any form of symptom or the other. Symptoms differ. Since symptoms differ, it is meant for us to determine or to identify what are our own triggers, what are our own symptoms. Now, there's a mistake most people make, is the fact that they are not aware that they are going through this problem. They're not aware they are going through this situation. They're not aware. Now, why I say so is the fact that people just feel that it's a normal occurrence. That okay, this is something that this is just a phase that will pass by. But I'll be honest, it is a phase that comes, would pass by, and still come again. Because when something happens, and okay, you kind of feel like, okay, yeah, I'm in a good mood today. Tomorrow, when another thing happens, you've now returned back to the original depressed state which you were in yesterday. Some people feel, okay, it's to pass by. It doesn't just pass by. If it passes by, it will come back. To come back. So we need to just face our fears. Face our fears means that we need to turn the ship to face the storm. So we're not running away from it. We're not running away from these symptoms. We're not running away from whatever trigger that we might be feeling. For some, it might be dizziness. For some, it might be they would lose their appetite. For some, it is sleepless nights. Insomnia. People facing insomnia, sleepless nights, they can't sleep. Why for some that are facing depression, they sleep too much. So symptoms differ. Some they can't sleep, while some sleep too much. They just end up sleeping throughout, sleeping. So all we need to do is just take note of our body system, our body changes. I talked a bit about that in the book I wrote, the book I launched last month. But all you need to just take a look at our body changes, our body symptoms, and understand which symptoms we are displaying at that point in time. Now, when it comes to support, every single support starts from me. It doesn't start from my friend, it doesn't start from the society, it doesn't start from my family members. Every single support should start from you as an individual. Because if you don't support yourself, no one else will support you. If you feel that there's need for things to change, then all you need to do is to make it work. If things have to change, you have to change. If things have to get better, you yourself have to become better. So now, the support system has to start from you, like I said. And how would you start to support yourself? First, what are your triggers? What are those things that causes you to worry to get these anxious thoughts? What are those triggers? What are those things that leads you to depression? Definitely, you have to find them out. Now, you're finding them out not to run away from it. You are finding it out to face it squarely. Now, your main game, your main goal is to master it, gain mastery over it. Gain mastery over it. Gain mastery over this situation. If you're going to feel it, if you're going to feel depressed, gain mastery over it. Right? Gain mastery over it. So now, the support system should start from you yourself. Make research. What should I do? Should I do yoga? Should I do meditation? Should I try CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy? Right? Should I take antidepressants or not? Right? So, should I speak to someone? Should I speak to a therapist? Should I talk to someone? Speak out. If you are confused, don't know what to say, speak to a friend. Talk to someone you trust. Someone you know that could easily find a way out for you, that could easily assist you to get the necessary help you need. Because if you don't tell someone, they would not know, right? If you don't tell your friend, this is what I'm facing, he or she wouldn't know. If you don't communicate with them, if you don't communicate your feelings to them, if you don't communicate your emotions to people, they would not know. Join groups,
Correct.
Facebook groups. Yeah. So these are the support
Absolutely.
system that we have. What about our friends? Okay, now, if we've done this on our parts, now each and every single friend we have has a responsibility. They have a responsibility. Now, it is the duty of your friend to know how you're feeling. It's the duty of your friend to encourage you in this time, in these distressing times. It's the duty of your friend to give you the encouragement that you need to support you in one way or the other. Now, the mistake some people do is the fact that their friends, the friends they keep are not those ones that will stay with them in this period, in these trying times. The friends they keep are the ones that would always want them to be in this peak state. The friends they keep are the ones that always feel things would always be rosy. The friends they keep are the ones that don't actually know the reality of life. The friends they keep are the ones that don't bring in any value to the marketplace. They don't bring in any value to you. Now we're talking about bringing value. We're talking about bringing value. I talked about value earlier on. Now, most friends are always there for you when you've got something to offer. Everybody wants to take. Nobody wants to give. Everybody wants to take. Nobody wants to give. So if you have such friends, now is the time to let go of them. Give them some breather. Give them some breathing space. Right? Now you have such friends, let them go. Build friends that will be there to support you when you're in these times. Friends that have something of value to offer. Yes. So if you don't have a mastermind alliance, I don't know if anyone read Think and Grow Rich. Napoleon Hill talked about having a mastermind alliance, growing a mastermind alliance. Now, this mastermind alliance are groups of individuals that bring in their own unique set of value, their own unique set of discipline, right? Now, each and every single person within your friend circle should have something to offer, should have something of unique value to offer. Necessarily not financially, yeah, it doesn't have to be financial profits. It might be in their use of words, it might be their ideas, it might be their set of discipline, it might be in their goals or their objective or their mission or or their way of life. They should definitely have something, unique set of skills and disciplines that they have to offer. So you've got these friends around you. Definitely, when you're in such states, you can easily run to the other to energize you, to get into a peak state. But if you have friends that don't care, or don't even understand what it means to feel what you're feeling, it won't be of any help. So when it comes to the family, this is some mistake that most families make. So sad to say, most parents are not attentive to how their children feel. They don't pay attention to how they feel, and they are not attentive to their emotions. They just think and act based on the way they were trained, or based on the norm of the society. And now their children now going to such states, they don't even know. It's only now when it comes to us that they get a sense of it, and it might be too late for them to, retrace their steps. That is why some children end up, mixing up with bad friends, bad gangs, and they just start going off course, and they feel okay. The problem is from the child, or the problem is from this. Sometimes problem can be from the parents. So the family has a responsibility at home to make the home a heaven of love, a heaven of an open communication. So your father should be the one that you can easily run to and tell, oh dad, so and so thing happened and I'm feeling some type of way. What should I do? Oh mom, what do you think I should do in such situation? So the family should be a heaven of communication where communication can easily flow in and flow out. But definitely all cannot be granted to us on a platter of gold. We cannot have the society support all at once. We cannot have the total support of our family all at once. We cannot have the total support of our friends all at once. But whatever we've got, we just make do with it. But definitely the only support that we can only be sure of, we can create anytime, any day, is me. Is me.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you also talked about, I think you talked about something like, okay, drugs, or when it comes to curing or trying to treat, um, sometimes, like I said, you can also reach out to a therapist, or a psychologist, but sometimes most of them give out antidepressants. They give out antidepressants like SSRIs, NRIs, that's yeah, NRIs, TCIs, TCAs. So those are some form of antidepressants that they give out, But the truth is, I'm being totally honest here. The truth is, most of these depressants have side effects. They have side effects. Most of these depressants have side effects. Selective serotonin inhibitor intake and the rest, norepinephrine relative inhibitors, some of these antidepressants have side effects. In fact, most of them. And once people take it, they begin to feel some type of way. Some of them, they will now lose their the possibility they have, to feel or to develop some certain type of emotions. They have their own form of side effects or the other. That is why most times I would always recommend that you start off when you are, initially noticing the symptoms, and you start off with a therapist, a psychotherapist, a psychologist, or you start with NLP, that's a neuro-linguistic programming, or some of these things, start with meditation, yoga, mindfulness, some of these natural practices, or if I'm to go further, I could explain. There's a formula which I use. I talked about that in my ebook. That is
Yeah, sure.
yeah, that
Yeah,
is
sure, Robert. In
self-care.
fact, what I was just wondering, I think this is such a huge subject that probably we will
Yeah,
need a couple of sessions to actually, go deep into the this thing. But
yeah,
it was so
yeah,
insightful. It was so helpful, whatever you have discussed. And the thing which I picked up, and I would like to reiterate, is the key word for this managing this kind of situation, either with ourselves or with somebody who is known to us, is communicate, communicate, communicate. So the person who is
yeah,
affected with this has to communicate it to the family, has to communicate it with the friends and others. And if we notice that okay, maybe sometimes people might not be aware that they are undergoing the symptoms of anxiety or depression, then probably those who are around them, could be family members or could be friends or could be some other community members, even at the workplace colleagues, if they notice that okay, there is some change, drastic change in behavior of some person, which is a pointer towards the ADHD or something like that, then probably this communication has to flow. So the communication is the key in managing this thing on time. And
yeah.
actually, yeah, I would love Robert to again touch base with you on this, and probably we'll have a couple of more sessions on this. because this is such an interesting and such a important and relevant subject. Most so because of the pandemic, a lot of people were uh, inside. They were working from home. They were confined to 2 room, 3 room, 4 rooms. They were not moving out. That itself has caused a lot of anxiety and depression, because as a human beings we are social by nature, and if we do not interact with people in person, I think this digital interaction and probably the metaverse and all those things will have limited effect only. So thank you very much. Thanks for your insights. I would also like to understand one thing. I saw that you are writing blogs also. So you are writing couple of blogs. So can you just briefly tell us what all that you write on the blogs?
All right. Yeah, I kind of like wrote some, let's say I started off on some blogs, which I kind of like discontinued at some point in time. Then I ventured into writing some form of literary works, and I wrote a specific topic. Ironically, you know, I wrote about four, and those four I wrote, yes, four or five. Those four or five which I wrote were at situations and points in my life where I felt depressed, where I felt cheated, where I felt some form of injustice, And so I wrote that. I wrote ironically, you know. I wrote some other ones. I also wrote, yeah, the chameleon effect. Yeah, I was talking about people who, display different colors, and, people who feel like, they're your friends, and, they don't show you their true color, they just keep changing with the tides, with the seasons. I also wrote what works right, what works right. I was just pouring out my emotions, when you feel nothing is going the way you want, what actually works right, what would work well, what's the motivation you need. So I wrote those few, and yeah, I could easily make it accessible to anyone, totally free, yeah. And I feel when you're in such states, I had the inspiration and I just put it down in writing.
Yeah, that's so wonderful. That's so wonderful. Again, let me reiterate this thing. At such a young age, you have amassed so much of wisdom, knowledge, and depth, and also the clarity, not only about the life, the stress, and the depression, but overall the human psychology as well. So that's so wonderful, and I'm sure that later or sooner people are going to know you through your work all over the world, not only in your country, not only in this country or this group, maybe elsewhere as well. Keep doing good work. But before we sign it off, uh, if people want to reach out to you, suppose they want to follow up with you in having more knowledge, understanding, or maybe they want to have a coaching from you or a training or some other session. So how can they reach out to you?
Okay, definitely. I'm available online on social media. My Instagram account is Succiano Max, SUCCIANO underscore MAX, or you just type out Success Robert on Instagram. I will definitely pop up. On Facebook, you can always type out Success Robert. Yeah, my name will pop up. You can easily send me a message on Messenger. So, or you go to, even once you go to my account, definitely my Facebook profile, you will see my WhatsApp contact details, definitely. So you can easily message me, reach out to me. I'll definitely respond anytime, any day. Also, you can also send me an email at wellness.max@yahoo.com, wellness.max@yahoo.com. You can also send me an email there, or info@successrobert.com. I'll definitely respond to your mails. Then also, my website is there. I've got a sales page. I've got an ebook. One is free, yeah, for entrepreneurs, for businessmen. How I discovered that, okay, most people find it very hard to discover their niche. So I created, because that was what I faced. We need to deal with people's problem and bring a solution to solve their problem. So I created an ebook called Find Your Niche Like a Psychic. So just go to www.successroberts.com/find your niche. So it's robert.com/find your niche. Then I recently launched a book, which I told you about. reclaim your life, kill depression, ways in which you can, defeat stress, anxiety, and depression without without antidepressants. I recently wrote that book this year, January. Yes. And
Oh, very nice.
yeah, I launched it January, I think second week to January. I think second or third. So you can always go to www.successrobert.com /kill depression. So it's robert.com /kill depression. And you get yourself a copy of the book. It's an amazing book indeed. And I'm sure everyone would love it.
Yeah, so Robert, I'll request you to kindly share all those links which you have just now explained in the comments box so that it is there forever. Otherwise, people might miss it. So if you could kindly
Yeah.
write in the chat box, these are your Facebook page link and all those things, your book link and your website links and all. So this will always be there in the group, and people can always access that and reach out to you. So
Yeah.
we'll be also be uploading the conversation on our YouTube channel. I'll be sharing the link on the group page as well as with you. So once again, I
Awesome.
take this opportunity of thanking you. It was wonderful interacting with you, and I'm sure that I need a couple of more sessions with you to have more clarity and better understanding for the benefit of all the group members and others also. So you are doing amazing work. Keep doing great work, and please be active in this community. This is a wonderful community. We have around
Yeah.
270 select people drawn from 30 countries, and each of them is a performer, is an achiever, or at least everybody wants to be better version of oneself. So we are all like-minded people. We are there for a common purpose. So I will request you to be active, share your insights and thoughts in the group as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely, I'll do that. I'll do that. I'll share the links, and I'll reach out. Definitely share much more valuable content to the community.
and
So
and
I
you
don't know.
you can also come on live as and when you feel
Oh,
like you please be live
oh,
on this
okay.
group. I
Sure, sure. Okay, okay. All right. Thanks for the privilege. I think I would do that. I think I'll do that. I'll do
All
that. I'll
right,
do
all
that.
right. So thank you very much. Thanks, Robert, for your time, for your insights, for your wisdom, everything.
It,
Thank you.
it's it's my humble pleasure, sir. I really love the community. I really love everyone, and definitely I want each and every one of us to continue to be the best we can, elevate ourselves, elevate others. Be the leverage, be a lever, push things up. Get your head high above the water, and make things work for yourself.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right.
Bye.